The boy says, "Wow, you got a lot of new clothes, you're very spoiled. After you were born my mother only thinks about you, and I don't know why you got all that, and I never got anything again, and you know what? It all ends today. Do you know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to cut all your clothes. You don't need them anyway, and look what I do with your clothes. I'm going to get rid of your clothes. You'll never sweat this here and take your clothes. I want you out of my life, I hate you. After you appeared in my life, my mother never paid attention to me again, and now she is alone." The mother arrives and says, "My son? What are you doing here alone? Where is your brother? He should be taking care of you," and soon she screams, "Emmanuel, where are you? Emmanuel, Emmanuel." He comes in and says, "What's a mother?" She says, "Why did you leave Davi alone? You know he's a baby, and he can't be alone," and the boy replied, "He's not my son, he's your son and you take care of him." And she asked, "I asked Emmanuel to change his diaper, why didn't you change him?" Emmanuel replied, "It's because I didn't want to," and the mother says, "Son, I need his help, let's change him." The mother says, "What torn clothes are these here, Emmanuel? Was you?" Emmanuel replied, "It's that calf's rag over there," and the mother says, "Emmanuel, talk straight to your brother, and this isn't a rag, I just bought this clothes, why did you do that?" Emmanuel replied, "It wasn't me, who said it was me?" And she says, "Okay Emmanuel, if it wasn't you, come help me change his diaper," and the boy said, "Not me, I don't like that boy, I don't even consider him my brother," and the mother says, "You respect him Emmanuel, he's your brother." Emmanuel says, "It's nothing, and I hate that boy." The mother says, "Don't talk about him like that, my son, please." And Emmanuel says, "Nothing brother, I don't even like this boy, and I hate him, take care of him alone, I'm not even his mother." The mother says, "Oh my God. What am I going to do with Emmanuel, and how am I going to explain this whole situation to him?" The mother shouts, "Emmanuel, Emmanuel, I need to talk to you." He replied, "What was mother?" She says, "Emmanuel, you respect me, because I'm your mother and I can hit you," and he said, "Then hit. After this boy was born, you only care about him." The mother said, "My son, it's not because I just like him, I love you the same way I love him, it's just because he's a baby and requires a lot of attention, and that's why I spend more time with him." And Emmanuel said, I also need attention mom, after this boy was born you don't even pay attention to me anymore, and you don't even give me a hug anymore." And the mother replied, "Son, mother needs to work to support you too, and I really need your help and I need you to look at me." And the boy says, "You know what, Mom, I'm not going to help you with anything, I don't have to." And the mother says, "Son, please listen to mommy." She says, "Emmanuel, Mom needs a favor from her," and he says, "You can talk," and she says, "Son, I'm talking to you. Are you listening to me?" He says, "What is a mother?" The mother replied, "Emmanuel, I need to go to work and I need you to look at Davi for me, can you do that?" He said, "Okay Mom, leave him there." And the mother replied, "Emmanuel is not like that, I need you to pay attention to him, will you look? Or not? I'm very late Emmanuel, I need to go and take care of him." Emmanuel says, "My God. You won't even let me paint in peace, you don't give me a minute of peace, kid, and you know what I'm going to do? I will end this now. I can't stand you anymore, now you solve the problem. Now I can go and draw in peace, and finally I'm at peace, without any noise in my head." The mother says, "My friend, I went to work and left Davi with Emmanuel, but Emmanuel is so rebellious." And the friend said, "How did you have the courage to leave your youngest son with the oldest?" She replied, "Yes friend, I really need to work and I can't leave them with the babysitter, and Emmanuel is giving me a lot of work." And the friend said, "Friend, can I give you some advice? If I were you, I'd be careful, because this situation where you leave a younger child with an older child, and I've seen several cases of accidents that happen at home, and most of the time it happens because of jealousy." And the mother says, "Jealousy, friend? Will it be? Wow, Emmanuel is very rebellious, very disobedient, and the friend asked, is he not jealous of his youngest? The mother says, will she be a friend? He is having a very strange conversation, that I only have time for Davi, that I only pay attention to Davi, but does he have the courage to do something with him? The friend said, Heloisa, I'm going to tell you something very serious, and I think you have to pay more attention, because sometimes he can do something imagining something else, and children are very impulsive and maybe do something they don't want to do, because of the moment of anger and because he sees you giving affection to Davi, he can do to hit you. And the mother says, our friend and I ended up. I was about to leave Davi with Emmanuel, but my friend then run and go take care of her son. Emmanuel, Emmanuel, where is your brother? The boy replied, I don't know. The mother says, Emmanuel, I left you taking care of your brother, and where is he? David, David, my son. I'm sorry, son, I'm sorry. Emmanuel comes in and says, weren't you supposed to find this boy? And the mother says, Emmanuel, can you tell me why you did this to your brother? Emmanuel says, he deserved it, I was drawing, and he wouldn't shut up. And his mother says, Emmanuel, why did you do that? He's just a baby, he could fall from there and hurt himself. And another time he cries he's a child, and Emmanuel says, it's good that he fell, because that way he disappears from my life. And the mother says, my son, please don't says that, he's just a baby, and he's your little brother. And he says, I hate him. The mother says, oh my God in heaven. Thank God you are fine, son. Emmanuel says, today I'm going to get rid of you. I can't take you anymore. He runs into his mother, who asks, what do you think you're doing? He says, I came to the park to play, and now I'm going back to my mother's house. And she asked, can I know where Davi is? Because I left him with you. And Emmanuel replied, I don't know where he is, Mom. And she says, I'm just going to ask one more time, where's Davi? And he replied, I don't know, and I don't even want to know. And she says, come back here, Emmanuel, you're going to help me look for your brother, now let's go. And he says, you don't need to look for him, because now it's just me and you. And the mother says, what are you talking about, my son? For God's sake, he's just a baby, and he's not like that, my son, please, where's your brother? Emmanuel replied, you just want to know about him, right, mother? And she says, Emmanuel, for the love of God, where is your brother? A man sees the basket and says, my God, what is this? Is a child. My God in heaven, where is the mother of this child? I'm going to have to call the guardianship council. The mother appears and says, my son, this is my young son. And he says, don't get me wrong, but who can guarantee that you are his mother? She says, yes, he's my son, and it's because my eldest son put him out on the street, and he's very jealous of him. And the man says, girl, for God's sake, how can you leave a child taking care of another child? That can't happen. And listen here, I'm going to have to call the police. And they say, no kid, no police, it's just that I need to go to work, and because of that I left him with my son. And he says, he left the child here in this basket. And the mother says, I'm sorry, man. It was out of necessity. And he says, look, you can keep it, but look, pay more attention, see? And she says, then thank God nothing happened to you, man, thank you very much, and I'm really sorry, saw? And he says, okay, and you pay more attention to that child, and don't leave your children lying around like that, then the guardianship council will come to your house and take care of both of you. The mother says, Emmanuel, I need to have a serious talk with you. And he says, okay, mother, say it soon. And she says, Emmanuel, I cannot accept this kind of situation, the way you are treating your brother, and that is not right. He's just a baby, and you have to help take care of him. And the boy says, Mom, what's the part you don't understand? That I don't like him, and after he was born you never looked at me again. And she replied, son, that's not what you're talking about. I love you both the same way. My love for you is not one less than the other. You're also my son, and I love you very much. And Emmanuel says, no, you don't, you forget me. And she says, think with me, your brother is a baby, and when he's older, you'll serve as an example for him. And he says, seriously, Mom? Will he look up to me? She says, "Of course my son, you are his big brother, and everything you do he will want to do too." And the mother says, "Son, I am sure he loves you very much, and when he grows up, he will love you much more." And boy says, "Will be." And she says, "Look, I promise I'll pay more attention to you and your brother, and I'm sorry for leaving you aside. He's a child, a baby, and I really needed to pay attention to him. I'm sorry, and I want for you to help me with him." And he says, "Mom, I want to apologize to you. I just realized that what I did was very wrong." And she says, "Mommy understands you, and now, I promise that my weekends will be within house for both of you." And he says, "Seriously, we can go to the mall?" And she says, "Of course you can choose where you want to go."